Hello everyone! I wanted to create a quick video for you to help you with APA style or APA formatting. So I know that I've spoken with a few of you through our course regarding formatting your writing in an APA way. So what I'd like to do with this video is just give you a brief introduction about what it is, as well as why we use it, as well as how to APA format. So basically, where did this idea, this style of writing come from? Well, it originally came from a 1929 group that consisted of psychologists, anthropologists, and business managers that convened and sought to establish a simple set of procedures or style guidelines that would codify the many components of scientific writing in order to increase the ease of reading and comprehension. So, why do we need this? Well, this is a great resource to use here, and I have linked this in your Canvas course to this website, the Purdue Online Writing Lab from Purdue University, or OWL for short, the Purdue OWL. This is a great website that really gets into the details about APA formatting and citing your sources and how to do so correctly. So, what is APA style basically? Well, like I mentioned, it establishes standards of written communication that concern the organization of the content that you're writing about, the writing style, how to cite your references, and how to prepare a manuscript for publication in certain disciplines. We don't need to worry about that fourth one. We're not going to be publishing anything at this time. So again, why do we use APA? Aside from simplifying the work of editors by having everyone use the same format for a given publication, using APA style makes it easier for readers to understand a text by providing a similar structure that they can follow. So by abiding by APA standards as a writer, it will allow you to provide readers with cues they can use to follow your ideas more efficiently and to locate information that interests them. It allows your readers to focus more on your ideas and not distracts them with unfamiliar formatting. It also establishes your credibility or ethos in your field by demonstrating an awareness of your audience and their needs as fellow researchers. So, the people that use APA writing are social sciences such as psychology, linguistics, sociology, economics, and criminology, as well as business and nursing. And we do have a little bit of a different guideline as a student. Since we are not presenting these for publication, there are a few differences in terms of APA citation as a student, and you will see these addressed on this website as well. So first, what is citation? Well, it is making sure that you are giving credit to the source where you got your information. And there are various ways of doing that. So let's look at what the general APA format looks like in terms of first writing your paper. So let's talk about the formatting over here, the general format of what your paper will look like. So you're going to see that there are some general guidelines here. I'm not going to read those to you. You can read them at your leisure. But I want you to notice that there are certain things that you really need to do, including the page header or the running head, as well as page number, as well as some guidelines for font. Now, the APA doesn't specify a single font that you need to use. It recommends a few. You can see what those are here. You also need to make sure that your paper is grouped into major sections. So normally there are 4 major sections of your paper: that title page, an abstract, a main body, and the references. For our purposes, you do not need to do an abstract for your paper. Since we're students, we are just looking at doing a title page, the main body, as well as a reference page at the end. So you're going to see what that title page looks like and how it is formatted right here. Notice this is a student APA title page, and this is what your title page would look like, except it'll have your information on the title page. It's different for a professional, and we don't need to worry about that abstract page. So let's look quickly and see if we can find since we're talking about what the format of the paper looks like, let's go and find a sample APA paper that we can look at. And I know that we have an APA sample paper that we can click on over here. Let's scroll down and let's click on the APA student paper. Now, APA 7, it just means that we are in the 7th edition of the APA style format guide. So let's click on opening up this paper to full screen. So this sample paper is going to give you some information about what is located and where. You can see the details of this if you'd like to read about it over at the side. You're going to scroll down and notice that this just gets right into the beef of the paper. There is no abstract here. It's just the paper written while they are using in-text citations. Those are found in something that looks like this, as well as this, just pointing out a few so you can see what it looks like, as well as here and here. Those are all in-text citations, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about that in just a minute. Let's scroll down to the bottom. We can see the last page will be the references section. So this is where you are listing all of the references that you have used in order to write your paper. And those are set up in specific ways according to what the reference is that you are using. So it's different if you're using a book. It's different if you're using a newspaper. It looks different if you're using a journal. And it looks different if you're citing something from a website. And you can see these are just some examples here. But let's show you what in-text citation means first and how that works. So, in-text citations, the basics. As you're writing your paper, you're going to find that there are times when the work that you are writing about is not necessarily your own idea or your own information. So what we're doing is, as you write your paper, when using APA format, follow the author date method of in-text citation. This means that the author's last name and the year of publication for the source should appear in the text like this. One complete reference for each source should appear in the reference list at the end of the paper. And that's what I just showed you on the previous screen. If you are referring to an idea from another work, but not directly quoting the material or making reference to an entire book, article, or other work, you only have to make reference to the author and the year of publication and not the page number in your in-text reference. On the other hand, if you are directly quoting or borrowing from another work, you should include the page number at the end of the citation. So you could just use the abbreviation P for one page or PP for multiple pages. Before listing the page numbers, use an en dash for page ranges. For example, you might write Jones, 1998, page 199, or if it's multiple pages you're referencing, you found the information from Jones, 1998, pages 199 through 201. Again, this information is reiterated below. So what we're looking to do is to make sure that you are sourcing your information correctly. Now, my objective in this is to just ask that you are doing your best to make sure that you are using APA formatting correctly. So here are some examples. If you are going to quote something from a short quotation, and if you are directly quoting it from a work, you need to include the author, the year of publication, and the page number, just like we talked about above. And you can either introduce the quotation with a single phrase that includes the author's last name, followed by the date in parentheses. If you do not include the author's name in the text of the sentence, you can put the author's last name and year of publication and page number in parentheses after the quotation. So you can see some examples here. It's really not that tricky. So if I'm talking about something from this article from Jones, I could say in my paper, according to Jones, in parentheses 1998, and then I'd start my direct quote. Students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. End quote. and then the page number where I got that quote from. So what I'm doing is I'm directly quoting Jones. I didn't come up with the idea that students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. I didn't say that quote. Jones did. So I'm referencing him or her. Here it is again, but written differently. Jones, parentheses 1998, found that, quote, students often had difficulty using APA style, end quote. What implications does this have for teachers? So my idea was what implication does this have for teachers or the writer of the paper? But you're using a direct quote from someone and you need to make sure that that is in quotations. Again, these are some examples of how to do that and how to write this information using quotes. Now, if you're using something that is a long quotation, so you'd place direct quotations that are 40 words or longer in a freestanding block of typewritten lines, and you can see this below. So if you are going to be using a very long quote, you can format it like this, where you are indenting this entire quote and you are citing the page at the very end. Looks a little bit different. Now you may get quotations from sources without pages, and there are ways to do that as well. And those can be found here. So that is just some information about citing your sources and doing that in text, meaning right in the body of your paper. There are other examples here that you can look at, because you'll see that there are other sources that you might find where it isn't just one author and a page. You maybe see that electronic sources are very popular in terms of how do you cite them in your text, in your paper. And these are examples of how to do that. So again, I'm just going back over to the in-text citation sections here to show you that. Now, once you have cited these people in the body of your paper, again, you need that reference list at the end. There are some basic rules for creating that reference list, and here are the basic rules listed, as well as the way to format your reference page. But the most important thing and the most interesting thing is, how do you get that in a correct way? How do you reference those people correctly at the end? You don't just link to a website. You want to make sure you're using the format of what you have found correctly in the end in that references section. So here is where you're going to find some really helpful ideas on how to do that. For one, on our website, the library website, if you're using an article from the website, there are some links to show you, and I did show you this in the other video that I made about the library, that you can just click on and it will show you how to use that reference at the end of your paper. It formats it for you, which makes it really easy. But sometimes you might not find that. Say you've found an electronic source. You can click here, and this is a whole area that shows you how to cite correctly at the end of your paper various electronic sources. So here is a web page or a piece of online content, and it tells you exactly what to do. If the page names an individual author, you can cite their name first. So you can see that if the page that you have found has an author's name, you would cite that here. And here's an example of what that would look like. And then sometimes if the resource was written by a group or an organization, which is very common, you can find the example of what that looks like here, and then an example written out here. So this is just giving you the format right here. This is giving you a specific example to follow right here. Again, there are many caveats to the way of being able to do this. So you might see that an online scholarly journal, how do you do this? How do you cite it? Well, here it is. You can find these right here. This gives you all of the information on how to cite your sources. And again, there are other ways of being able to do that over here. Other print sources, how to cite certain things, audio-visual media, how do you cite a film or video, a TV series, a YouTube video. There are different ways of adding your citation at the end and how to do that. A podcast. How do you cite a podcast? Well, it's right here. You put the executive producer in parentheses, executive producer, as well as